And then when we recorded it, I believe it was 2 guitar players, if I remember correctly, maybe even 3. Smokey Hormel, Matt Sweeney, and Mike Campbell, I believe. And Ben Montench was playing the piano in my living room as we were doing it. And we cut the basic track, and with Johnny singing, and then Johnny probably sang over that basic track a few more times, and then we comped his vocal, and then built up the drama. And you didn't get to the part, but at the end of the song, it gets very loud. The music gets very loud. Yeah. It's subtle because it's not anything that takes your ear, and the vocal is so powerful that you don't really think about what's going on.
But it's building the whole time musically.
It's building, and it even gets distorted at the end. It gets really like overpowering, and that's part of the emotion of it. Yeah.
It's
I will let you down.
I hear almost anger and frustration.
If I could start again, a million miles away, I would keep myself. I would find a way.
And it just rings out. Yeah. The clean vocal. I mean, it's so simple, so incredible. And it's interesting to have a young man's lyrics in an old Johnny Cash voice and heart and mind. I had, are you a fan of Tom Waits?
Of course.
Tom Waits, when he was younger, had his song called Martha. But there's a bunch of songs he's written when he was young. Where it's like, how does a young man have that like melancholy wisdom? The song Martha is about an older man calling a woman he used to love that she's now married, and he's married, and they're having that conversation. They haven't spoken for 30 years, and they realize that there's still love there, and it could have been a different life, a different world where they could have been together. And here's like a 23-year-old Tom Waits writing so beautifully about something that's very, I've had a lot of people like tell me how real that, as an older person looking back at that love that you had and realizing it's still there. Inklings of that love are still there.
I think there's a, when a young person writes a sad song, they almost seem more willing to go to a more hopeless place because
yeah.
they have a
so
longer
much time
journey ahead.
Yeah.
And older artists tend to want to look at the bright side of things, which also I think comes from the wisdom of aging. It's a more realistic position. So it's not uncommon for younger people to write. I think even in the Beatles, you'll see like they're very heavy lyrics. Middle to late era Beatles, which is still, they're in their early 20s, I guess.
Wow, that's hard to think about. So much accomplished.
Unbelievable.
And they went through the full journey from fun to darkness in a span of a few years. Yeah. You mentioned lyrics. So you've obviously produced albums with incredible lyrics. I think you've mentioned the interesting characteristics of hip hop, of rap, is that you're writing poetry to rhythm versus writing poetry to melody. So that's like one way to think about it. Yeah. And I'm a fan, Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, I'm a fan of poetry, period. Yeah. Is there something about highlighting the poetry of it, the power of words, as you did with Hurt? If I have to play, it's a Tom Waits song that's like less than a minute long that I always go back to. It's one I really love. It has just a few lines. It's called "I Want You," and all it is him saying, "I want you."
want you, you.
This is a 22-year-old Tom Waits.
All I want is you, you. All I want is you. Give you stars above, sun on the brightest day, giving you all my love. If only you would say that I want you, you. All I want is you, you.
And then he hums for 20 more seconds.
Yeah, beautiful.
So simple, man. That young man, like, but for people who don't know Tom Waits, you should definitely listen to him. And his voice sounds very different now, and it's interesting to see the evolution of a human voice, the artist over time, because that's a young, like, boy-like voice, hopeful, less clever, less witty, more simple. That simplicity's there, and he's not. I mean, that takes guts to be so simple, I would say, lyrically and musically. Is there, sort of laying that out on the table, is there ways that you like to highlight the voice, the lyrics, or is there's no one rule? So to you, what is the thing that makes music special? Is it the rhythm, the melody, or is ultimately the lyrics are always there, or the idea?
You just asked me 5 different questions.
I don't care. I'll just keep asking. It's not about you.
I see that. You don't want the answers.
I don't
you
want
just
the
want to
answers.
ask questions. Okay. I'll listen.
I look forward to your comments, the internet. Okay. You have the greatest producer of all time in front of you, and you can't shut the hell up. That's right, friends. But you do value lyrics. Is there a way to celebrate lyrics?
I value lyrics if the lyrics are important. I'm not a lyric person. I'm very much whatever the thing that makes the thing good is the thing that I'm drawn to. For me, for a long time, lyrics meant very little. I would say from
Wait, really? In
Yes.
the beginning?
Yes, from the earliest days.
Fight for your right to party, Beastie Boys?
Yeah, it was fun. I thought they were good lyrics, but it wasn't what was important. I mean, it was in a almost a novelty way, not in a serious way. Early in my career, I was much more focused on the rhythm, first the rhythm. And I would, if the lyrics weren't good enough, I would be aware of it, but it wasn't the driving force for me. And eventually over time, then melody became an important piece, which it wasn't in the beginning. And then, lyrics became more important over time, but it's always been always changing what draws me in. And one of the things I found as it relates to lyrics that can give a lyric a different power has to do with rhythm, where if there's no drum, the lyrics tend to mean more. So earlier, what you were saying about if it was just a cappella, you felt Marvin Gaye in a different way hearing the a cappella.
Can you comment on, I mean, in terms of one of the greatest albums ever, why does it sound so raw? Her voice.
She's just a great singer.
But this is you're not doing anything else. You're doing the there's strumming, and then there's just a single beat, and then it builds. It gets simpler, but it feels like it's a giant orchestra. Heather's backing vocals. The anger. I love it. Like I just, there's something about such a powerful voice and the instruments not getting in the way. I mean, the same with her and Johnny Cash. Is there why does it sound so like raw? It's the same as Hurt. There's it feels like you're in the room with them. It feels like they're not even singing. They're like they're literally freshly mad and angry.
I think those are the things that make great singers sound like great singers. It's not anything that's happening in the studio. I mean, I would say the only thing that us in the studio can do is kind of get out of the way and not ruin it. You know, it's like that's what comes through of these people.
I should also, before I forget, there is a lot of song choices on that CD. I would love to see the full options on the CD that you sent to Johnny Cash that I love. So Solitary Man is one of my favorite choices made there. Is that a Neil Diamond song?
It's funny to talk about them as songs because I tend to listen more to albums than songs. So
that's what you're doing in your head. You're pulling up the album essentially.
No, I'm going to that song, but I don't know. I've never listened to that song, but I know that when that song comes up in the sequence of the album, it has a really powerful effect in me. Let's see what it does if you just start it.
If you could read my mind.
Oh, so interesting.
What a tale
Wow.
words could tell. Just like an old time movie about a ghost from a wishing well in a castle dark or a fortress strong with chains around my feet. You know that ghost is me, and I will never be set free as long as there's a ghost that you can't see.
That's beautiful.
If I could-
Such a beautiful choice.
Beautiful
Try.
melody, such a beautiful melody and haunting words.
Sung so simply. I have to. I was born in the Soviet Union. When you're growing up, there's a few bands that kind of, I mean, they're probably forbidden still, but they seep in, and you get like bootlegged, and they somehow take over the culture of the young folk, such as myself. So on the metal side, it was Metallica and Iron Maiden, and on the, I don't know what you call them, but Beastie Boys. I remember hearing Fight for Your Right, and it was just like, for some reason that stuck, as it did for a lot of people in Russia. It's like, wow, America is when you get to say fuck you to the man, the rebellion, the freedom. I probably heard it a few years after it was released, because it dissipates the culture. You get the bootleg. It's hard to get your hands on. But I just remember, I want to kind of bring that up because it was such a personally important song to me, and yet probably you didn't even think of that. You probably thought of it as its role in the culture here in the United States, like in terms of musically. But
I was, 21 years old, and we just
well, you were that kid too, right?
We were just making fun songs for our friends. There was no expectation.
So that's just a fun song.
Yeah, no one thought, we never imagined anybody would like any of it.
One of the greatest albums ever.
Yeah!
I have to. I love this so much. I just remember, this is America. I didn't even understand the lyrics, to be honest. And the lyrics are ridiculous.
Ridiculous.